I have this recurring nightmare where I am trapped on an airplane, waiting at the gate for hours. The air conditioning is barely working. The pilot keeps making vague announcements about a minor maintenance issue, and we are just sitting there. I always hear people say that it is illegal to keep passengers trapped for more than 3 hours, but I swear I have been stuck for longer than that before they finally let us off. How do airlines keep getting away with this without being sued or heavily fined by the government?
It is an incredibly manipulative tactic based on a technicality in the aviation rulebook. You are absolutely right that under Department of Transportation regulations, an airline can face staggering fines, sometimes upwards of $27,500 per passenger, if they keep a domestic flight trapped on the tarmac for more than 3 hours without giving you the opportunity to deplane. But gate agents and flight crews know a major secret. The official 3-hour timer does not legally start until the main forward cabin door is closed. This is exactly why you will sometimes sit at the gate during a massive weather delay, fully boarded, with the jet bridge still attached and the main door cracked open. As long as that door remains open, even just an inch, the federal tarmac delay clock has not started ticking. They will tell you to remain in your seats so they can depart at a moment's notice. But in reality, they are using that cracked door as an insurance policy. They know the moment they close it, the multi-million-dollar countdown begins. But if you think that open door trick is frustrating, wait until you realize how they manipulate you when the flight is completely oversold.
Yes, oversold flights. It happens almost every time I travel now. You are sitting at the gate, reading a book, and suddenly the intercom screeches. The agent announces they are looking for 3 volunteers to give up their seats in exchange for a $300 travel voucher. Then it goes up to $500. I always feel like 50 people jump at the chance for those vouchers. But what if nobody volunteers? Can they just pull you off the plane and hand you a useless credit towards a future flight?
They desperately want you to believe that a travel voucher is your only option. Here's what gate agents are specifically instructed not to advertise. If you are involuntarily denied boarding, meaning they force you off an oversold flight because nobody volunteered, the airline has broken their contract of carriage with you. According to federal law, they do not owe you a restrictive travel voucher that expires in 12 months. They owe you cold, hard cash. Depending on how long your arrival is delayed, they are legally obligated to write a check or issue a direct electronic transfer for up to 400% of your one-way fare ticket price. The legal payout cap is heavily regulated and currently maxes out at $1,774 per passenger. So when the gate agent is practically begging for a volunteer for $500 in digital airline credits, it is a brilliant financial maneuver for the airline. They are spending their own fake corporate currency to avoid triggering a massive cash payout. If you are ever forced off a plane, refuse the voucher entirely. Politely request an involuntary denied boarding check at the desk. But money is not the only thing they can quietly take from you. Your security clearances are equally vulnerable.
Wait, what do you mean by security clearances? You mean TSA PreCheck? I paid my $85, did my fingerprint background check, and got my known traveler number for the next 5 years. It is honestly the only thing that keeps me sane at the airport. I thought once you were approved by the government, you were golden, as long as you did not commit a serious felony. Are you saying they can just take my fast-track security access away at random?
Yes, and they will not even send you an email to let you know it happened. Many travelers assume that PreCheck is an absolute right once paid for, but the Transportation Security Administration treats it as a revocable privilege tied strictly to your checkpoint behavior. If you accidentally leave a prohibited item in your carry-on, things like a large multi-tool, brass knuckles bought as a souvenir, or even defensive sprays that are completely legal in your home state, the TSA officer removes it. Most people think the punishment ends with that confiscation. It does not. Behind the scenes, the officer files an incident report against your known traveler number. For minor civil infractions, your PreCheck status can be silently suspended for 6 months to 5 years. The next time you book a ticket, that beautiful green check mark simply will not print on your boarding pass. You will be shoved into the standard line, taking off your shoes and unpacking your laptops, wondering if it is just a random glitch in the system. It is not a glitch. You have been quietly placed in the penalty box, and you will not get a refund for the remaining years on your membership. Speaking of things vanishing without a trace, let us talk about the truth behind why your heavy suitcase sometimes never makes it onto the plane.
Oh, do not even get me started on lost luggage. I have done everything right before. I arrived 3 hours early, watched them tag my bag with the correct destination code, and watched it go down the conveyor belt. Then I land, wait for an hour at baggage claim, and it just never shows up. The airline always blames short connection times, but this was a direct flight. How does a bag on a direct flight manage to disappear into thin air when I checked it incredibly early?
It did not disappear, and it was not an accident. It was intentionally left behind on the tarmac due to strict Federal Aviation Administration weight and balance limitations. In the aviation industry, this is known as a baggage embargo. On unusually hot days, the air becomes less dense, and aircraft require a much longer runway to generate lift safely. If a flight is completely full on a sweltering summer afternoon, the dispatchers calculate that the plane is simply too heavy to take off. The airline faces a ruthless choice. They either have to kick paying passengers off the plane, which costs them thousands in denied boarding fines, or they quietly leave a cart full of heavier suitcases sitting on the ramp. They will not announce this at the gate. You will board the plane entirely, completely oblivious, while your suitcase sits hundreds of miles behind you. When you eventually file a missing bag claim, the airline will hand you a pathetic little overnight kit with a toothbrush and maybe a $50 voucher for a t-shirt. But the Department of Transportation dictates that for delayed domestic baggage, the airline is liable for your reasonable out-of-pocket expenses up to $3,800. If you need a business suit for a meeting the next day, you buy it, keep the receipt, and demand reimbursement under federal guidelines. But lost luggage is nothing compared to the trick they pull when they physically downgrade your seat.
A seat downgrade is the most disrespectful thing an airline can possibly do. A few years ago, I splurged and paid $800 for a first-class ticket for a cross-country flight because I have an awful back. When I scanned my boarding pass at the gate, it beeped aggressively. The agent handed me a new piece of paper and casually explained there had been an equipment change, meaning they swapped our giant plane for a smaller one. First class was suddenly entirely full, and they shoved me into a middle seat in the very back near the bathrooms. As an apology, they emailed me a $250 flight credit.
That right there is the definition of corporate theft, disguised as an apology. When an airline conducts an equipment change and involuntarily bumps you from a premium cabin, like first class or premium economy, down into the main cabin, there are strict consumer protection laws at play. You did not receive the product you legally contracted them to deliver. The trick is that their automated systems will instinctively email you a digital travel credit, hoping you just silently accept it and move on with your life. What the Department of Transportation specifically mandates, however, is that you are legally entitled to receive a refund for the exact difference in fare between the premium ticket you paid for and the economy ticket you actually flew in. Most importantly, that difference must be refunded to the original form of payment, not a travel voucher. If you used your trusty travel credit card to purchase that first-class ticket, they are required by federal law to put that exact dollar amount right back onto your credit card statement.